Welcome back to another OpenToonz tutorial. In this video we're going to be importing in pictures and artwork that was done outside of OpenToonz. So if we don't want to use the built-in tools to do a drawing, we can actually just bring in artwork that we create in Photoshop or Inkscape or Krita or anywhere else. And so I have a drawing here on level B right now. When we bring something in, it's going to create its own separate level. Okay, so I have here a couple different folders, files. We have this one of Donald Trump holding his hands open like this. We have one of a dog. These are both on transparent backgrounds. These are both PNG images. Actually, these are all PNG images. And this is just like a nice colorful background. Whoop. Anyway, the easiest way to bring these in is just left click and drag it in. It brings up a dialog here and says, what do you want to do? Import, load. I usually just say import and then leave everything the same and hit apply. So now we have this dog and it's its own level, and it named the level after the file. So the file was called dog.png, so this level is called dog. And we can see there's one image in this level, and we can bring in, if we were to select multiple, we could have brought them in multiple images in one level, but and then this one is our person that we drew, so we can toggle between seeing these separately. If we want to bring in the one of Donald Trump, we just drag it in and go import, apply. And now we have the Donald Trump. We can't see him yet because we need to select that level. And then we can also drag and drop in like this background, but I'm going to show you a different way to do that. If we click on Browser, we can actually just navigate to the point on our computer where that's at. So this is under my desktop, and I'll select this picture, right click and go Load, and then that just brings up the same dialog as if I had done the drag and drop. Okay, so now we have some different artwork here to work with. We have this. And this is, see, much larger. They're all different sizes. It doesn't really matter because what we're going to do now is actually play with the different, play with this Animate tool, which is a really, really good tool to get familiar with. So when we select the frame and the Animate tool, it gives us some options for position. It gives us options for scale. If we change this drop down and go to scale, we can change the size of it. We can change and we can do rotation. And we can change the center point too, so if we want to rotate based off of the corner, we just move the center point to this bottom corner, and then when we do rotation, it'll rotate based off of the corner instead of the center. That's important, especially when you draw your own work. Like if we go back to this level B of this guy we drew, and then we have to look at him in the frame before we can use the Animate tool. So we go to, we're seeing, okay, this is a good issue to bring up too. Right now, he is overlapped by this drawing, so we could just toggle and turn that off. What we really want to do is, let me just resize this real quick. Let's just move column 1 to the very first column, and now everything else we can see. And then let's just move some of these. So we click on the Donald Trump one and we go to position, move him over here. We click on the dog and then go to position, move the dog over here. So what I want to show you is with this guy, our center point for him, if we go to rotate, is kind of to the right of him. We might want to change that, so we move his center point to maybe the center of his body. And that way, when we go to position, we can just move the center point of that position and we know exactly where it's at, and then the rotation will happen around that point. Just makes it a little bit more nice. Okay, and then if I were you, I would do kind of the same thing I did. Maybe draw in your own level and then drag and drop in a few different levels and just play with this animation tool. So whatever level we're working with is what we're going to be animating. And the animation tool only works when we have that drawing in a frame of our animation. So if we have another drawing here, maybe this drawing we did, and we click down and we draw something else like we did in the last video, just a separate drawing, we can't use the Animate tool until this drawing is brought into either its own column or an existing column. So it has to be in here before we can actually use these Animate tools on it. Does that make sense? This is really important to learn because in the next video we're going to do keyframes and we're going to automatically animate these. If you see, these have little keys by the ones that we've been moving around. It actually sets keyframes the moment we start playing with the Animate tool. And it's just important to learn the difference between animating something. So if we move this, between changing it with the animation tool which really will change everything on here. What I should do is draw a couple other things to show you. Everything drawn in this drawing gets changed by the animation tool. So now when we go to move position, it moves all of this as if it's drawn on like a clear, transparent sheet. And so all of this is moving. We can't just select the star. The animate tool always animates the entire drawing. Which is different than if we could come in and select something separately, and then we could move just a part separate. But this, changing things this way in our drawing, moving individual parts, doesn't work with the keyframes. So the animation tool is what we'd want to do. If we wanted to move part of this independently, it'll make more sense in the next video. If we want this to rotate around the star, what we really need to do is put this on its own drawing level. We should delete it here and then redraw it right here as a separate thing, and then bring it into its own column. And now we can actually animate just this separately around. So play with this feature and go ahead and get familiar with bringing in different files and importing them. I'm sure you're going to notice some things. Like one thing I'll point out right away is that when you bring something in, it's a raster. So this dog that we brought in, this PNG image, if we go to level and level settings, we see it's a raster level. So it's not even a Toonz raster level, which means we have some limited things we can do. We can use the brush and erase tool, but we can't use the fill tool on it. And all the colors used in this are not in our palette down below. So we'll address that in a future video as well. But play with bringing in different artwork and toggling between the levels, and just get familiar with what the animate tool does and when you can and can't use it, and how that's different from just selecting something and changing it in the just with the selection tool. Hopefully that makes sense. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and leave your questions, comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.